I'll be showcasing my year-long STEM project based on the flow issue of Lake Okeechobee in southern Florida. My project is basically about the altered flow of Lake Okeechobee in South Florida and how it impacts local estuaries. This is an image of a mass fish kill in the Indian River Lagoon located in St. Lucie County. By the end of my presentation, you will understand how these fish died and hopefully get an understanding of how to solve this issue. My problem statement is stated as followed. People who are unaware of Florida water management issues need a way to learn more about how Florida's waterways can become restored because we want to secure the health of our water resources, protecting our way of life for future generations. Here's a map for context when I talk about each location in Florida. Located north of Lake Okeechobee is the Kissimmee River, and flowing west of Lake Okeechobee is the Caloosahatchee River. Flowing east is the St. Lucie River. And these arrows depict the flow of Lake Okeechobee in the past, where it once flowed south into the Everglades, but it's not currently. Lake Okeechobee is the largest lake in Florida and currently sheds off into the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie Rivers, flowing east and west, seen in this image, which is the current flow. Before this flow alteration, Lake Okeechobee would naturally shed off into the Everglades, and that water purified itself on its way to the Everglades. And this depicted in this image, which is the historical flow of Lake Okeechobee. Canals built to protect homes south of Lake Okeechobee divert water east and west into the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee rivers. Poor nutrients and pollution from agriculture stagnate in Lake Okeechobee and drain east and west, causing algae blooms, leading to mass fish kills and dead seagrass. You can see the effects the algae blooms have on each coast in this image. Seagrass provides habitat for juvenile fish in the Everglades estuary, and without it, there would be no oxygen nor shelter for the fish to survive in. Before American settlers changed South Florida's drainage in the early 20th century, the rain that fell in Orlando would gradually drain through the Kissimmee Basin to Okeechobee, where it would be held. Lake Okeechobee would overflow and ultimately replenish the Everglades with fresh water. There is not enough fresh water being poured south into the Everglades, but rather flows east into the St. Lucie River and west into the Caloosahatchee River, hurting seagrass and oyster beds, and scares away game fish along the coast. Fresh water flowing from the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee watersheds causes salinity and water quality problems in their respective estuaries. To make it clear, the Everglades is not the only body of water being affected by the flow of Lake Okeechobee, but as well as the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie regions. The Everglades Agriculture Area, short for the EAA Reservoir, is a solution to combat the flow of Lake Okeechobee. This project will significantly reduce harmful Lake Okeechobee discharges to the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee rivers by storing and cleaning excess water from the lake before sending it south to the Everglades, where it once flowed naturally and where it's needed most. The reservoir is on this image, lined in orange, and is located south of Lake Okeechobee. The South Florida Water Management District, short for the SFWMD, began blasting ground to make way for the canals that funnel water into the 6,500-acre stormwater treatment area, the STA, which is a component of the EAA Reservoir. The stormwater treatment area design includes filtered marshes that will naturally cleanse the water before it flows south to the Everglades. As you can see on the picture on the left, the Everglades Agriculture Area Reservoir is located south of Lake Okeechobee, so it could filter the fresh water before sending it south. This project started on August 28th of 2020 and should be completed by 2023. At the beginning of my project, or the low fidelity phase, I worked with QGIS, which is a software that allows you to locate a specific location on a map and 3D print it. In this image, I am working with QGIS and developing a 3D compatible file in order to print. At first, it was difficult to navigate through the software, but the more I worked with it, it became more familiar. I printed out my first prototype, seen in this image, and it came out successfully, but there was not enough exaggeration or contour because Florida is a very flat state with little to no contour. Then midway through my project, I switched gears, and instead of using the 3D printer, I was using the CNC machine. This allowed me to design a larger model, and in the end, I realized that no matter how much contour I added, the model would still look flat due to the lack of hills and mountains in the state of Florida. I was not able to come up with any design with the CNC machine, and that is why I don't have any image depicting my work on the slide. For the last stretch of my project, I decided to create a totally different model that would encapsulate the purpose of my design. I wanted to create a flow model to show how Lake Okeechobee overflows and pollutes each coast of Florida. My model would include a cutout of Florida, seen here, along with a water pump in Lake Okeechobee, which would be placed under this hole in the cutout of the map, which is Lake Okeechobee, and would propel water to each coast. To represent the nutrients in solution and pollutants, I used green food dye. Here's a short clip of my model in action. So the purpose of this model is to demonstrate how the toxic nutrients and pollutants from Lake Okeechobee being poured into each coast cause algae blooms. Lake Okeechobee, prior to the flow issue, would overflow from rain and pour south into the Everglades, providing adequate amounts of fresh water. Our goal is to make Lake Okeechobee push fresh water south into the Everglades where it belongs. I've noticed that not much attention has been given to this issue, so I decided to give it spotlight, which it deserves, because if nothing is done to fix the flow of Lake Okeechobee, the Everglades could be in danger, as well as the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee rivers. As you can see on this image on the left, the Everglades is a unique and pristine area, and we want to keep it healthy and thriving for other generations to experience. Here are my resources that I used throughout the entirety of my project. Thank you, and I hope you learned a thing or two about the issues surrounding Lake Okeechobee's water flow and how it could be combated.